So hey guys, welcome back to the Seoulite, and this is going to be another mukbang story time. As you can see, I was just ready to go to the gym, and usually I check the messages that I get from my gym. Every other Sunday they close, and you know, of course, I have to pay more attention to Korean than English. But I read the text message and I was just like, okay, I guess I can go because it's a normal day. And then I read it again and it's totally not. It's just basically saying like we're gonna be closed today. And I think it was like this case of like, I just read what I wanted to read. Horrible, right? Um, anyhow, so I haven't ordered this in, okay, you probably won't believe me, but in years I have not ordered jjajangmyeon or black bean noodles from the home delivery service, and this one is right in the building, so it's very convenient. But I still had not ordered ever. So this is. Let me get closer. See how this one? This one is called the yuni. Um, Yuni jjajangmyeon, which basically means that they cut it into smaller pieces. I wanted to try something new. I don't really know what exactly this means in terms of the flavor, but apparently it brings more of the flavor out. And I think there's like less extraneous stuff. Of course, this is this. I'm sorry I'm far away. This is not my normal setup, but I did get a mic to get some of the sound in there. And you know, this is not, especially on a day when you're supposed to work out, this is not the best thing to eat. This is not the best thing to eat ever in any kind of diet. And then here are the noodles. So I think the trick is you have to kind of do this relatively quickly. See, it's already kind of stuck together. People get really mad at this type of stuff, but I'm generally okay with when noodles like get overcooked, people get really upset. I don't know. I'm fine with it. I like the noodles in all textures, so I don't really get too bent out of shape if that happens. So the flavor, of course, is in this sauce. And the great thing about this is you just leave this after you're done eating. I'm sure most of you watching probably know this. You put it in this plastic bag, you leave it outside your door, they come back and collect the plate. Alright, so I haven't really been looking at the camera. I was supposed to, I guess, look more at the camera. And then you could see Plutarch is right there. I think he smells a new dish and is wondering what this is. You could also make this at home. There's a lot of pre-made packages that you can just go to the store and you just essentially just heat up the noodles and heat up the sauce and add it together. I don't really make that either. Now the cool thing about this, usually while you're waiting for, and if you go to the restaurant while you're waiting for this, you kind of snack on this. And this is onion, and then this is radish that has been put in like vinegar and sugar and dyed yellow. It's supposed to offer a contrast to it. But this, and then this black sauce is essentially the black sauce that goes into here. And then so you dip it and you eat it. I don't like it when I was a kid. I think it grows on you. It's kind of like chips and salsa. Alright, let's try this. So, the thing with jjajangmyeon, it's about the sound. I think that's half of the experience of eating this. The noodles are really soft, and I think it does give more flavor. Sometimes with jjajangmyeon, it's horrible if you get a bland one. And jjajangmyeon is meant to be cheap, and so it's meant to always have a baseline, very affordable version. I think it was 5,500 won, which I think out of most things that have gone up in prices, that one has had a slow inflation. I think when I first came to Korea about 9 years ago, it was at 4,000 won or 5,000 won, you can have it delivered. And so now 5,500 won, that's pretty good. Um, I would say almost like so many things here in that time frame have probably doubled in price, and I'm not really kidding at all. If you really take a hard look at like the prices, like especially during that time, it was the financial crisis, so exchange rates were going through the roof, and people were printing money, of course. So of course it's going to show up in the inflation. Nobody complained, and that's what we got.
Well, hmm.
Mm-mm-mm. The reason why I think this is on my mind as well is that I think I'm having Trump anxiety. I'm going to call it that. Trump anxiety. The inauguration is next week, right? There's all this stuff circulating around Russia, whether he's going to be blackmailed, what he does all over the place. I'm going to, no, I will talk about it. People were really upset with BuzzFeed. I wasn't. I'll be honest, I was not. I was not upset with BuzzFeed whatsoever. Nope, 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 nope. Nope, was not. I'm not gonna explain why, because I don't want to give like some bullet point of like, you know, here refute this, here refute that. I'll just say overall, maybe I'll talk about it later, maybe not. I was not upset with that. I would say it's sort of an irresponsible move. Okay. If you're gonna go textbook, I would say that does fall under the category of irresponsible and rule breaking. I also think you shouldn't go down in dirt to meet somebody. If they're down there, why do you put yourself down there? On the other hand, you know, as somebody I love listening to says, if you have a headache, you can't stick an aspirin on your head. You have to use the medicine to meet the pain where it's at. And if that's like in your bloodstream, then you have to take some Tylenol or whatnot, and then it has to go into your bloodstream. So sometimes I still haven't, I think this is the great, like, things about life is that you decide and you try to figure out when you're supposed to take the high road and when you do take the low road. I think everybody thinks, yes, we should always stay on the high road, and we should. But when you really think about it, sometimes you have to fight. Anyhow, I'm not gonna say that's the only reason or the main reason that I think I'm not mad about BuzzFeed. But I am upset at the way that that Trump went after CNN, because if you're talking about how to stay within the rules and maintain the old school way of doing something, but then really beyond that border, I think CNN did everything it could. But we're not in that age. Like when I saw those reports on CNN where they were just basically like prancing around the reporting because they did not want to say anything specific, I felt like, number one, viewers are just going to be so confused and they're just going to switch and not really absorb all that you're trying to say. And then number two, it just reminded me of Korean press before this whole presidential scandal turned up, when people were much more scared about saying the wrong thing, and therefore you get all this news coverage and you're just scratching your hands like, why would they cover this in the first place? Because the way that they're presenting this makes no sense and it doesn't seem significant. And so that's where I thought it was going, where you're seeing like then suddenly media being scared of doing their job. And then so in that overall big scheme of things, I do applaud BuzzFeed for kind of like breaking through that barrier and not allowing that wall of fear to be built up. And I'm glad that it was through BuzzFeed, because in a way I think it does represent their brand of doing things in the new way. New way, but still couched in. They put so many conditioners on that article that they wrote. The article that had the memo about all the nasty things that Trump allegedly may have done. And usually with bullies is that they don't realize how many bad things that they've done to another person. And I think they also feel like if they are not challenged directly on that same level, that they really didn't do anything bad. And so now with this BuzzFeed thing, I would say it pales in comparison to all the shenanigans that Trump has gotten away with. And yet he's making a big uproar. So, in my own personal experience, it totally fits the classic case of the psychology of a bully with low self-esteem. And in my life experience, you 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 have to. I mean, when you go into a boxing ring, you don't expect one person to be meditating and praying while the other one is punching. When you watch a boxing match, you expect both people to use their fists. And the thing is, I do not like boxing. I don't like those, you know, sports that make it look like you put two, what do they call it? The cockfighting? Or rat fighting? Like, I think it's, I don't want to offend people who like it, but I think it's kind of crude. But that's my point. Even though I may not like it personally, and it goes against my beliefs or whatever values, if you have a ring, a boxing ring, then it's not a prayer room. It's not a meditation room. You go in there to fight. And so, if somebody is doing that, I mean, those are the decisions I think you have to make as a rational person. So I think this also then relates to war. Like, you do not want to take the low road for any kind of stupid person or stupid aggressor that's going to lead you into a detrimental war that will then be a lose-lose situation. However, on the other hand, you don't also want to be defenseless, and you also want to know that you can use appropriate force when necessary. And so that's when you have to have the wisdom of statesmanship and, get a dangerous element out before it's too late. And I kind of feel that's the anxiety. We've had many chances to act before it's too late. And I feel like this is a collective way. This is why I love, I mean, I've never felt so sad and anxious, but hopeful and excited all at the same time. Like, I feel this incredible, like, heaviness and kind of like guilt at like, oh, what did we collectively do to get us out into this situation? But now I'm so hopeful that like this is like the call to action that unites a lot of people, and it's very clear what the next objective is, that I'm so excited and hopeful at the same time. But what I'm still worried about is that are we going to do what is right and necessary in time? Or are we going to let this slide by again and think that things will just work itself out? But I do think that this is a collective way of trying to say, like, BuzzFeed is. I'm almost 100% sure the reason why BuzzFeed did do this was to increase the number of actors, like sort of like crowdsourcing or crowdfunding, like saying like, look, here are the allegations. We're saying it's allegations, but we're saying it's serious because these allegations were serious enough to be put in a secret presidential briefing. But we alone cannot confirm these statements, so let's spread it out. And so already intelligence agencies from multiple nations are reportedly looking into essentially fact checking. There's only so many places that a reporter can go to, only so many sources of information that a news organization is privy to. And so what BuzzFeed, I think, really did was contribute to our collective need, the benefit of knowing the truth and getting people who have sources close to this information to be able to corroborate and confirm, or to say flat out there's nothing there. We get closer to the answer and in a more accurate way so that we can adjust. We can take the appropriate steps and actions. In a way, I think this mirrors like what we're seeing with the presidential crisis. At first, I didn't really understand the National Assembly's investigation because I felt like they would not have any teeth. But, good Lord, talk about like clearing the hedges, raking the leaves, clearing the path, like creating new pavement, getting rid of the extraneous things. It's kind of like having, like if you're cooking, somebody preparing all your ingredients out for you, and all you got to do is come in and then start really cooking and zhuzhing things up. That's what they were doing for the Constitutional Court and the Special Prosecution Team. So, in a way, I feel like BuzzFeed is being like the sous chef. So, CNN, you go and cook it up. Cook it up. Lowest support in the history of America, I believe, for his transition. You're supposed to have a honeymoon period where everyone's on your side as the new president. No, not like that at all. I believe like he's back at the polling numbers before this whole, before the election. He has not shown that he is presidential. He's 70 years old. He's not going to change his stripes next week just because he becomes president. Especially since he doesn't know like what that is. Because his world has not been politics. His world has not been like, okay, I'm a politician, or, politicians know their roles. Like, okay, this is my role as like, on an investigative committee, like, Elizabeth Warren out there, investigating. But then she's like, you change. You're like, okay, this is now my role as a fundraiser, and this is now my role like when I'm in my district, and this is my role in Washington. He doesn't have any of those roles. He only knows his one role, which looks like a seriously, I've come across a lot of spoiled brats in my life, private school spoiled brat kids try to get away with everything, and it's cute, yeah, and it kind of feels fun, yeah, like you're trying to get away with stuff, and then you're defying authority, and essentially the spoiled part is that person who is trying to impose some rules on you is caring about you. But there comes a certain point where everybody doesn't care anymore. And you're out there alone battling an imaginary foe. You know what? It's kind of like the whole Lindsay Lohan thing. She's rebelling. And then at the end, people are just like, I don't care about you. And then she's just like still rebelling. Like, what is that? Rebel without a cause. Or rebel without you know, a person trying to impose rules on you because they basically gave up on you. And of course they know that, and that's the worst thing, and that spirals more. So it's just not mature enough to lead. At 70 years old, and you're not going to change your stripes. He's just going to be the way he is. And that gives me anxiety because, wow, we've never seen anybody so immature. Literally immature. Those tweets, the attitude, the focus. The focus should not be on stupid tweets about Saturday Night Live. It shouldn't be about who's going to play at your inauguration. I mean, this is like somebody who literally needs to study for an entire semester's course in like a week. You literally have no time for anything else. So of course he probably never did that. He doesn't know what he doesn't know, and he doesn't care. This is so good. And this kind of makes me feel much better. So, the original cheap one for this dish, I think it's the same size. It's 5,501. This version is 8,001. So it is a significant jump up, percentage-wise, and absolute-wise. But I believe it's worth it because all the flavors here, you don't need to order a side of fried dumplings. You don't need like a mini tangsuyuk, which is that sweet and sour pork. I think you do need that though with the regular one because there's something missing in the flavor. This, all here, and you get this for free. It's civilized on your real plates, delivered to your door. What more could you ask for?
Mm.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to go on a rant. So in a nutshell, I've been having anxiety. This actually is quite calming. I'm very hopeful for the future. Very excited for the future. Same time, so like, feel like heavy and scared. It's the weirdest feeling ever. Yeah. I'm excited to see what will happen next week. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining me. Hope you like this video. And we'll see you again next time.